It's a brand new day for Peter Parker, fighting crime full-time as Spider-Man in a world that doesn't remember him, and the pressure of seeing his old friends move on without him sparks a change in Peter he may not have the power to control. Welcome to Frame and Fiction, the podcast where we read the books, watch the movies, and talk about what makes their stories work. I'm Noor, joined as always by my co-host Gabe, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Spider-Man film, Brand New Day. As always, we're going to spend the first 15 minutes or so spoiler-free, giving our general impressions of the movie before diving into a full-fledged spoiler review and discussion. But first, Gabe, you just recently watched it. You are fresh out of the theater. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, fresh as in like I got out an hour and a half or 2 hours ago-ish. It was probably my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, I would say. It felt the most true to Spider-Man. It had some serious moments, something that I think a lot of the MCU struggles from. And I just loved it. I thought almost everything about the movie really worked. I didn't walk away in awe per se, but I walked away feeling so immensely satisfied. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but in as spoiler-free terms as I can say, Spider-Man here, it feels like the first time we really got Spider-Man. We got Spider-Man alone, kind of sad boy energy. You got some heart-wrenching scenes. You got some real heroics, like real bravery from Spider-Man. You have some team-ups. You have some surprises, some shocking elements as well. And I think if you're able to avoid any spoilers, kind of like I did, I saw it a bit late compared to a lot of people. I mean, this film broke box office records this weekend, not only setting the record for the largest weekend ever for any weekend with both the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day, being out at the same weekend, but also Spider-Man Brand New Day itself set a record, beating out the Avengers films, which is incredible. So I'm a little late to the party. However, I was stunned, did not know any spoilers, kind of put the pieces together along the way. And I think if you are savvy in comic books or savvy in the MCU in general, you'll probably be able to figure out the, quote unquote reveals about like who Sadie Sink is playing, for example, who the villain of the story is, what's going on, things like that. I wouldn't say necessarily it was the most shocking film, but everything it did well. It had a clear goal. It had a clear vision, which I think is super important. And that's something we really haven't had from a director for a Spider-Man film in a couple movies. For reference, I liked all the Spider-Man movies. I'm not like a hater of any of them. I thought they were all pretty great. But this latest one was something special and really set a new bar for the MCU's Spider-Man. Nor, I know you've seen it a couple times now, right? You've seen it twice?
I saw it twice back to back.
Back to back. Okay, so with those back to back screenings, opening night, what are your takeaways? With some, I guess, a bit more time to process. What did you think about Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Like you said, I walked out very satisfied. I was so happy with it. I think it's brimming with heart. It's brimming with love and care. And there is so much intention, in and out of the camera. It has a very clear direction that I think the Homecoming trilogy didn't have. And whatever problems I had with the Homecoming trilogy, which I thought was, I thought it was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. There were a lot of problems with that trilogy. Yeah, those problems are not here anymore. They are out the window. They've been addressed. It took everything that was good about those films, kept it, and it left everything that didn't work, left it in the past. Like you said, this is a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man truly feels like Spider-Man. And not only that, but Peter Parker feels like Peter Parker. I think you get the best of both worlds. I think Tom Holland completely nails it. He's very much in the zone here. He knows what he's doing. He's having a great time. I thought, like you said, there were a lot of pleasant surprises and team-ups. Nothing particularly crazy. We unfortunately live in an age where break down every trailer, we break down every interview. There's so many leaks, and also most people can just look up online who this character could possibly be. So not necessarily the most shocking surprises, but it tells a very personal story with so much care and love for the character that you can't help but walk out feeling refreshed and reinvigorated and excited for the future. I am so excited to see where this character goes next, and I want to watch the movie again. I need to see it at least a couple more times. I need to appreciate just how beautifully shot it was, how dynamic it felt, and yeah,
Yeah, I think
it's a very great Spider-Man movie.
you're completely right. One of the things that really stood out was the choreography. The fighting felt sort of like, Insomniac's Spider-Man, like the Spider-Man video games, which we both know and love. Moments felt like that, and I thought that really worked in its favor. And the surprises, or like the things that they were holding out on spilling, like Sadie Sink's character, for example, or some of the team ups, or who the real villain was, all that kind of stuff. All of that was primary. That that did not define the story. Whereas I felt like for Spider-Man No Way Home, which in all honesty was a better movie theater experience. That was a better experience opening night. Go to a packed out show. You have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea who's going to show up on screen. And when the other Spider-Men finally show up, you are stunned. Everybody's cheering. It felt like so much energy. I didn't necessarily get that with this, and that might be because I didn't go opening night, to be fair. But I would say that rewatching Spider-Man No Way Home is not as good of an experience. The film, I don't think, really holds up whenever it is not relying on those reveals. While it's still really cool. Don't get me wrong. It's still really cool. You can tell they edited it for those moments to really hit. Whereas I felt like this new movie, I feel like it didn't do that. It just was trying to tell a good story, and I mean, the things it withheld for good reason, but it didn't feel like that was the point. Like that was the same thing with the collaboration. I mean, you already see that the Punisher's in the film. That's in the trailer, so I can say at least that much. And the Punisher played a bigger role than I really thought he would, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it really worked. And it's not as if that cameo was a cameo for cameo's sake. It felt like a team up that served the story on a deep level. It served what the direction was the director was trying to tell. And that's something that I can't say the same for the Homecoming trilogy. Again, loved those movies. It's Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Let's Spider-Man it up. However, Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think, just had a better structure. Just the bones of the film were more consistent, more carefully crafted. And same thing with the choreography slash cinematography and the soundtrack. The soundtrack was excellent as well. So in general, honestly, I was not excited for this film. Maybe that's crazy. I was nervous. MCU has sucked recently. I have hated it. It has very slowly but surely diminished my excitement for anything forthcoming. I had films that I liked, but nothing really blew me away, and also nothing really got me excited for the next film. Like I was kind of just apathetic about the whole thing, including for this new film. I was sort of apathetic, and I wanted to see it to believe it, and wasn't convinced by the trailers, to be honest, because it felt like any other MCU movie. And it really told a Spider-Man specific story that I could believe in and feel really excited about. And like you, Nor, I'm excited to see where this story goes, and I'm excited to see where Spider-Man goes. So, I mean, I would say, Nor, without getting into any spoilers, there's an after credit scene, right? Like pretty much any MCU film. Without saying exactly what's going on in that, were you excited by this post credit scene? Were you disappointed, perhaps? Because like all MCU films, this one has one, but notably, this has one post credit scene, and it's really post. It's like after all the credits, you have to sit there for quite a long time. Snore, what was your takeaway from that? Are you happy with what they did, or are you like, I mean, we could talk about what's in it in a second, but just a little tease for those who have yet to see the film.
I will say it felt a bit lazy and like a bit of an afterthought, but the content did it didn't like get me hyped or anything, but it did give me the chills because it brought me back to when I was a kid flipping through certain comic books, which we'll talk about more later. But also I saw it opening night and people reacted. People did react to it.
Pretty aggressively, like similar to No Way Home sort of thing.
They reacted to it in ways that brought me back to the like leading up to Infinity War type of
Okay.
reaction. And that was a pleasant sound to hear. I haven't heard that in a long time. The sound of like a collective fan base getting excited over what's to come. But yeah, I mean, are you ready
Yeah,
for spoilers?
okay, wait. I gotta add this really quick. No, I think that's great. I went to the episode we just filmed. I'm not sure what's coming out first. It doesn't really matter, but we just recorded an episode about the Odyssey as well, the Odyssey film, and I got to see that in 70 millimeter IMAX, which I'm like really proud of. I drove like 5 hours to go see it, and it was awesome. It was everything I expected it to be and more. Real film. It was epic. And I'm sure that most of the people in that completely sold out crowd, I'm pretty sure most of them had already seen the film by this point. But it was really funny to see, like, weeks and weeks after the film had released, the energy that we had for like Spider-Man for an opening night. I mean, people were like cheering for Odysseus during the middle of the film. They were like clapping and hollering. It was really funny because we did go see it like pretty early on, and it was a silent theater. I mean, people had a good time, but I just think that's funny because what you experienced with that, I got with the Odyssey, but I think it's probably the format. People were just excited to see it in the best sort of way. But that leads us to one last thing before we get into spoiler territory. It's noteworthy that, at least at this point, I know it's been announced that it'll appear in IMAX. It's not on any IMAX screens at this point. Spider-Man
Yes.
Brand New Day is not on IMAX. Did you get to watch it on a bigger or better screen? Did you do it on like the was it the Dolby whatever?
I sat on Dolby.
Okay. I did
Yeah.
too. I didn't know if we had any standard screening experience. So I was gonna ask. All right. I guess
No,
we're
no,
too
no, no.
yeah,
Dolby.
we're too cushioned to do that, I guess. Okay. Never mind then. Yeah, Dolby's a great experience, so that's fine. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, if it's on IMAX whenever you're ready for it, then like go check it out there. I would say that the soundtrack, the audio, in general, the experience of Spider-Man is always going to be better on a bigger and more vibrant sort of screen. I especially felt with this film in particular, the way it portrayed New York City was different than the previous films. At times it was dirtier, grayer, grungier. Other times it was like the sun setting over the city, and just that you could feel the height of the city more than ever before. And I especially think that the higher quality screen with Dolby like helped with that feeling. It was already shot well, but the crisp quality, the crisp audio made it even better. But I don't know. That's my little spiel. I think, if you can go see it in a nicer theater, pay the extra few bucks. It's 100% worth it.
I couldn't have said it better.
I
All
also
right,
have no problem
spoilers.
shelling out money. Yeah. Okay. Spoiler
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Let's do this.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Get out of here. Go see the movie. Go see the movie. You know you want to. If you're watching this, you know you want to. Spoilers. What to talk about first? I mean, we got to talk about the like semi-review with Sadie Sink, right? I think it's both one of the great elements and also negative elements of the film. It's both one of my bigger praises, but also one of my biggest disses on the movie, Sadie Sink. So, what is your take on it, Nor?
The leading up to Brand New Day, I kept saying like, I really hope it's not Jean Grey. I really hope it's not Jean Grey. I
It
really
was
hope it's
Jean
not
Grey.
Jean Grey. And it
Yeah.
was Jean Grey. Not particularly disappointed with that because I thought, it'd been made for an interesting kind of storyline. But like you said, it is my biggest critique of the movie is the handling of her character and her story. I do think the movie, like, without spending too much time on like ratings here, like subjectively, I want to give it a 9 or higher because of how much fun I had. but I do think the Sadie Sink and Jean Grey elements bring the movie down to maybe like an 8 or an 8.5, especially near the end. I thought she was great. Sadie Sink is a great actress. I thought she was great. I'm excited to see where she goes next as Jean Grey. I think as a character, she was done far better than she was ever done in the X-Men movies,
Yeah,
which isn't really that
not a
high
high
of a
bar.
bar. And
Yeah.
also, it's kind of sad because this is not necessarily the Jean Grey we know. This is a very different, a very these are the humble beginnings of Jean Grey. For Jean Grey, who still hasn't found Charles Xavier, who still hasn't found that family. Conversely, I will say that I did get a lot of chills and just a lot of chills really when she would bring up, you know, the discourse of like the mutants, like, oh, these powers are what makes us special, and people want to take them away from us. These powers make people scared of us. Like my mom left me. My mom left us as soon as she found out we were different. When she talks to Spider-Man, saying like, "I have no one. My sister's gone. I have no one left. There's no one for people like us." It's like just the lines that are eventually gonna pay off when we do get the X-Men here, and I am very excited for the X-Men. Those are my favorite characters, aside from the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Like I grew up with these characters, so seeing them start to build up to that, it's been years in the making, and finally seeing it sort of start to come to fruition is very exciting. On the other hand, I don't want to keep rambling too much, but there are some inconsistencies with her character near the end that do kind of undermine the emotional impact of the third act. But I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, I know where we're going with this, I think. And I'll say this much. I felt the emotion strongly at the end of the story, especially with how they emphasized her lack of motherly figure, and for Aunt May to feel that role in whenever, this is the big climax of the movie. She's about to kill the bad guy that she kind of decided is like her place to enact revenge, right? She's about to kill him, and Peter's like, no, 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 don't kill him. Instead, enter my mind. And then she enters his mind. And then she finds Aunt May giving motivational speeches like all the time, just on repeat. And she gives Jean Grey this motivational speak, which is it's exactly what she needs to hear. And it's coming from this warm motherly place. And I thought that was extremely effective, because I think if you didn't have the earlier flashbacks with her and her sister, where she's staring at that daughter playing with her mom, and if they didn't emphasize that point, they didn't emphasize the lack of parental figure and how much that pains her, if that wasn't something that they like decided to focus on, that part wouldn't have hit as much. But it did. And I know the inconsistencies we're going to talk about. However, I have to give some grace, because actually in the movie watching experience, it didn't deter it for me. I'm sure on a second or third watch, it did. But on the first watch, it didn't. It was only upon reflection, whenever I got home and watched a Jeremy Johns review, that I went, oh yeah, that is kind of weird. So, I mean, okay, we can get into it. The obvious downside here is that she is like definitely a bad guy and very mean. I mean, she murders people 100%. She takes over a civilian's mind, steps back into traffic. She is super horrible to Peter Parker and inhabits MJ and then like dupes him, but so mean. It was also kind of awesome. I kind of loved it. But one thing I gotta mention, I gotta point this out, because I think that realizing this justifies it a little bit at the end, not fully, because yeah, she's kind of a villain through and through. All of those actions are done to save her sister. That is in her mindset of, I will do anything to save my family. I will do whatever it takes to save my sister. But the moment she finds out her sister is dead, it becomes a place of revenge. The goal changes. Her goal initially is not murder the guy in charge of the U.S. Department of whatever, right? Like, that's not damage control or whatever. That's not the goal at first. The goal is to save her sister, whatever it takes. But once her sister is dead, it's revenge. And then it becomes a revenge story. And revenge is very different. And so I think it is fair to say her murdering him out of revenge is different than doing what it takes. However, she still is mean. Like, she still goes above and beyond and does unnecessary things that she doesn't have to do to find her sister. Like, absolutely, wreck Peter Parker. But I do want to put that out there because I think it is a valid critique, but then there's also a valid defense of saying, like, they're fundamentally different emotions that are driving her actions in those moments. And Peter Parker does talk her off the ledge effectively for the vengeance that she's feeling. That's different. But Nora, I want to hear what you have to say.
You kind of basically covered it. But I think you hit the nail on it. It's one of those things where you don't notice when you're watching it. It doesn't take away from the experience. It's only upon reflection that you realize, it's a little inconsistent. It's a little more. It doesn't stick the landing as well as it could have. I'm also, I couldn't help but compare it to the scene in Thunderbolts. They have very similar uh, climaxes. And that's the problem with, superhero movies. They are a bit derivative of each other, and a lot of characters have very similar powers. And I do hope it doesn't become a trope, even though I am a sucker for it. I love that type of ending. I hope it doesn't become a trope where like they go to like the mental like place and fix the
Mhm.
problems, because I can see it becoming a trope very quickly, and it can become another one of the MCU isms that people critique. So I hope it, it's a one and done, or if they find a better way to tell it, or a more unique way to tell it, if they do choose to explore it later on. But yeah, Jean is very cruel. She's very mean. She definitely has no problems murdering people beforehand, which does bring down the whole idea of like, no, Jean, don't do this. You're not a murderer. It kind of undermines that. But it also, I don't know. It's interesting because we don't really see this. Like, we don't associate this normally with Jean Grey. Not exactly. She has those in the comics. In other iterations, she has motherly instincts. Yes, and she doesn't have a problem with killing, as far as I know. Like, she doesn't have a no kill rule or anything. But she's not mean. She's not cruel the way she was with Peter. And I think part of that has to do with, them trying to make it seem that this is an actual villain at first, and trying to like keep the mystery, even though it's not that shocking of a mystery. I don't know. I feel like that could have been done a little bit better. Maybe you could have. I don't know how you would have done it better, though. That's the thing. And it did
Mhm.
make for some really great scenes. I mean, that rooftop scene between MJ slash Jean Grey and Peter was phenomenal. That was one of the best scenes in the movie. You see Peter break down, start crying, and really letting it all out. And when MJ pieces everything together in that moment, you could hear the collective groan of the audience. And I remember, like, for a split second, it almost fooled me. It did fool me for a split second. I was like, "Oh, there's no way she figured it out this quickly. That would have single
I
handedly
thought the
been
same thing.
that would have
Yeah.
pissed me off. That was such a that would have been a horrible choice.
Yeah.
It would have pissed me off, and everybody else around me felt the same way because there was a collective groan. I was like, no, and then there was a sigh of relief, and then utter horror when you realize that that's not MJ,
It's
and
it's
that
like
Jean Grey's so
horrible.
cruel. Yeah,
It's horrible.
so it was a roller coaster of emotions, that sequence, and definitely a core memory for me.
Yeah, there were just like time after time in this film, there were really brutal scenes that were hard to watch for Peter. And Tom Holland, I'm trying to think of if I've seen him in a role that I thought he did a better job, but this to me felt like probably his best acting performance I've seen him do. It just, I don't know. It really really stuck for this one. The pain felt so real, and especially the scene in the submarine whenever they're at, Frank Castle's house, or, and she has read the letter and she essentially says, "I don't love you." He expresses that he loves her, and she doesn't love him back. And the audience feels it. But you also know that Peter Parker has to say it. He has to get it out. He has to explain himself. Oh my gosh, that just wrecked me. Because his face, you could see the pain, but also just the strength at the same time. The unwillingness to back down and look away, like him staring her dead in the eyes as MJ doesn't look him in the eyes. She refuses to confront him directly with it because she knows how hard it must be for him. And I don't know, that just sucked. It just sucked, but it was the right choice. It
It was
was
a
the perfect choice.
brutal scene.
Yeah.
Like, it was done
I mean,
so well.
yeah, like I think it was great to have him be alone, to have him not have a love interest, to have him truly, but at the end, he found his best friend again. And that's what matters. He did the secret handshake, and that made me so happy. I loved that so much. That made my heart sing because, like, the true love's kiss wouldn't do it, but a bro shake really just put all the pieces back together.
Peter!
I I loved that. Now, it's so funny. I thought that was so good. Ned in this film really, I don't know, like he always is one of my favorites because he's always just kind of the perfect side character. His personality, his energy, his optimism, he's just always perfect as the best friend role. And this was no different. Even whenever he wasn't technically in the best friend role, he still felt like he was in the best friend role. And I just, oh man, the first half of the film though was probably my favorite. The montage at the beginning was stylish. The
It was beautiful. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was so good. And
The song
yeah,
choice, the
the song choice is
swinging,
great.
the fighting, the recreating those iconic comic panels, the humor. I mean, Peter and Spider-Man is funny. Finally, again, he wasn't particular. I didn't find him particularly funny in Homecoming, and he wasn't very quippy. But that is such a big part of who he is, and it definitely stood out in this one. There's so many just he's so funny in this movie. There's a guy who tells him, "I love you, Spider-Man." It's like, all right, buddy, I get it, I get it. Or when the cop's like, "Are you trying to take my job?" It's like, no, 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 you guys are the professionals. I'm just a volunteer. Like, or whenever he's being held by Tombstone, and Tombstone
Yeah,
asks
I
him
was like,
how long before you hit the ground and splat. He's like, I don't know, you tell me. He's funny, he's awesome,
yeah.
and it works well now because his humor is always a way for him to overcome the sheer terror of what he's doing. He's risking his life every single time, and his face is hidden behind a mask, but he also needs the humor to cope and to feel more like confident. It works. It works so well in this movie. It feels earned. It doesn't feel out of character. I thought it was amazing. Also,
And
he has
the
a Queen's
mask.
accent now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The mask, though, it finally meant something. That's one of my biggest problems with some of the earlier ones. And in retrospect, it's a big problem. Is that like tons of people knew his identity. Tony Stark knew his identity, and because of that, the Avengers pretty much know him, right? Like he always has his mask off. People know Peter Parker, but with that all being washed away, like him hiding it from Bruce Banner, for example, him hiding it from everyone, it felt like a true obstacle. Like he needed to keep the mask on. And while of course it was easy for Jean Grey to figure out who he was, it was also weaponized against him. Not in the sense of I'm going to reveal your name to everybody, but in the sense of like it just felt so much more invasive to know who he was than
and
ever before.
exactly, and it also works within the confines of the story because he is repressing his Peter Parker side. He is
Yeah.
not ready to get back out there as Peter Parker. The mask is literally shielding him from the rest of the world, from himself. He's too scared to open himself up and re-enter the world, while also being the more logical aspect of it. Like, hey, Spider-Man, I want to keep my identity a secret because last time this happened, people get hurt, and
And
that's a very basic feature of the character.
and this speaks to probably one of the biggest changes I noticed and I loved was I actually saw a guy in a costume. Like I actually saw Peter Parker in a suit. It wasn't CGI the whole time. And that's something that really bothered me. And this is on, I rewatched the other films to get ready for this, of course. And rewatching Homecoming, you can notice now. Like it's old enough now that you see it. and it's really distracting. The floating head syndrome is extremely distracting, especially with Peter Parker. Whenever his whole body is CGI, but his head is not, it sucks. And having a clear, like a fabric suit, it's fabric. You can tell it's fabric. You can tell it's really him just standing there or just sitting there. Like he's actually Peter Parker in a suit. It's Tom Holland on a set in real life. And it made a difference. And I wouldn't have said that before. Like I couldn't identify it as a problem before, but it's something that I definitely noticed this time around. And it made some of these longer scenes where he's just sitting around in his Spider-Man suit feel a lot more like grounded, a lot realer, which reflects the story that we're trying to tell. Like there are these big potatoes and these small potatoes, right? Like there's the little tiny things that he's supposed to be covering. Of course, the reality of the situation is always the threat is a lot bigger. That's always how it goes. But still, he's on the ground in New York City trying to save lives, working with the police department. He's not going to space, even though our okay, can we talk about it really quick? I want to get your take on it. I haven't seen anything about it. I've not looked up any interpretations. I just saw this, right? Just saw this. I had no spoilers. Completely correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like Venom, right? Is that what we're dealing with? Is that Venom? That's what I thought it was. I was like, Venom coming from space. That's sick.
It's Venom. It's not Venom. It's the symbiote.
Is the symbiote? Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
No. But here's it's not that the symbiote is coming to Earth. Is that in Secret Wars, at least the original run, building up to it? I remember, or it might have been at the start of Secret Wars. It starts with all the characters suddenly disappearing from New York and appearing in Battle World, which is this makeshift.
Yes, I know Battle World.
This makeshift realm, right?
Yeah.
Where Secret Wars takes place. So I think that's what it's teasing. I thought that's what it was teasing. And in Secret Wars, that's where he gets the symbiote originally. That's where he does that iconic pose in the black suit, and the rest is history after that. We get Venom and a whole other realm of storytelling. But I think that's what it was teasing.
That's good. I hope so, because I didn't know the background there. I knew obviously something in space has to do with the symbiote, has to do with Venom probably. I was just like, okay. I hope that's the case. But he's not in Doomsday, is he?
He's not in Doomsday, which
is like,
but I think he will be in Secret Wars. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
He's definitely their biggest money bringer. Like, we've seen that. He alone, Spider-Man alone, has outdone the Avengers movies. So that's kind of crazy. I mean, did they just not predict how well this would do, or
no?
Was this a misstep, or was this intentional?
I think it was intentional. I think if anything, it's a good thing. Because if they're being intentional about not bringing their cash maker, their money maker,
cash cow,
the cash cow, yeah, exactly. If they're not bringing that here, there has to be like some intention behind that choice.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they're gonna focus significantly more on building up Doom. But that's my hope, rather than just like randomly throwing in like every character right away. I think in Secret Wars, that's where we risk them just bringing everybody for the sake of bringing everybody back. Because from Doomsday, we're missing a significant number of characters, most notably Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. But I don't know. I'm hoping it's for the better. I don't know. I'm kind of glad.
I'm so skeptical of Doomsday. I'll be so honest that I have like very little hope of it being really good. I think it might be fine, or it might be a mess. I'm sure there'll be some fine moments. I'm sure it'll be an awesome experience in the theater, but there's been no build-up. There's been zero build-up. All of a sudden, Doomsday's here. Like, we had Fantastic Four and Doomsday's face. He has the baby. And then all of a sudden, Doomsday. And yeah.
I will say, though, the Kevin Feige did bring up a really good point. That Infinity War, the build-up wasn't necessarily Thanos. It was the event of it all. Because, you introduce Thanos, when you actually break it down, he only showed up in like a handful of post-credit scenes, 2 post-credit scenes. Doomsday has shown up in one post-credit scene. So that already not the most like significant
That's
shift.
fair. Yeah.
And then
I
you
guess the
do
Infinity Stones is more so what I talk
exactly,
about when I'm talking
yeah,
about the
yeah.
build up is the Infinity Stones.
So as far as Doom is concerned, I think they're gonna, you know, I sure hope they spent like a decent amount introducing the character and setting him up. But yeah, there is no build up for the event of it all. Like if it's trying to replicate Infinity War, it's nowhere near that. But who knows? I mean, they might shock us. They might not. I'm not particularly excited either. I am excited to see Doom because I think he looks
Yes, I
awesome.
agree.
He looks
I agree.
awesome. Robert Downey Jr. Like yeah, once you get past the whole gimmick of bringing back the actor that was the face of the MCU for this other role, once you get past that, he is a great actor. And God, I really hope they don't show his face. But if they don't show the face, I think he's gonna be great. And the suit looks amazing. Oh my God, he looks really
Yeah,
good.
the
But
suit looks so good.
we'll see, we'll see, we'll see.
Okay, we got to talk about Spider-Man some more because this is at its core a Spider-Man review. Let's talk about some more things that I think really work. We have, of course, John Bernthal as Frank Castle / the Punisher. Oh my gosh, loved him in this movie. I was really surprised. I've never been a huge Punisher fan, at least of like the series. It was fine. It's just not my cup of tea. But this really worked. Especially, I had like some of the biggest emotional moments is whenever you understand the Punisher's perspective. You understand that he's like all about killing and all that. He understands that this is sort of a punishment. He's the Punisher, but his position is not one that he takes lightly or that he enjoys. It feels like he has to do this in a sense because he's been given no other choice. And the final moment for him, really, whenever he takes out that sniper, sets it up on the roof, looks through the lens, sees Jean Grey sitting there still, and takes his shot. And Spider-Man, sensing it coming, grabs her, steps in front of the bullet, and takes it. I was blown away. I knew it. You could feel it. It was going to happen. I knew the moment he got on the rooftop, like, oh no, Spider-Man's going to get shot. It just, he's a hero. He would be able to sense it coming. The inevitable dread of it all is just awful. And okay, tell me, when he was on the ground, like what was going through your head, Nor, the moment he got shot?
I was like, oh no, Hugo is right. Because Hugo, our friend, he kept teasing and he kept saying, oh, he's gonna die. He's gonna die in this movie. I just feel like he's gonna die in this movie. And then he looked at me. He was like, "Oh no!" So I was for a moment there. I was really scared, but I didn't think he was gonna die. I thought they were gonna lean into the whole like rebirth scene from the trailer. The trailer talks a lot about rebirth and reemerging better, which is a whole element of Spider-Man. So I thought he was gonna go that route, but it was such a phenomenal scene. It's breathtaking. It's a testament to Spider-Man as a hero and how far he has grown. When you look at how he reacted to dying in Infinity War compared to how he
Oh,
reacts to this, he's so mature. He's not. He might be scared, but he doesn't show it. He's mostly preoccupied with Jean. He's like, "Go, run! They're gonna hunt you down. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Don't worry."
that's fascinating.
That was Spider-Man.
I mean, the visual image is very similar, and I noted that. And while watching it, I went, "Whoa, this looks like Infinity War." The expression on his face, the angle of the camera, it looked very similar to whenever Tony Stark is, holding Spider-Man in his arms. And I didn't really consider the difference in how he took death, but that's really good. And
It was
I mean, there's no way that's
done.
not intentional. With the direction of the camera being so intentional, obviously, it has to be that they wanted to show that personal growth, that Spider-Man, the Spider-Man of before is not the Spider-Man of tomorrow. And oh wow, yeah, that's quite powerful actually. I love that. That's
And
really
then
good.
it gives you that scene between Frank and Peter in the hospital where Frank is almost crying and like
he's so upset.
we see this new angle of this character. And I'm a huge Punisher fan. I love the character. I think he's such a compelling, interesting story. I think he's such a fascinating character because he's so broken, but he was also done really well in this movie. It has a PG-13 rating. Obviously, there's no like murdering going on. There's no John Wick action
Yeah.
going on between these characters. There's no cussing. I mean, there is like some vulgarity, but he doesn't cuss.
Yeah, he gets
But
his mouth webbed before
webbed
he
up, yeah,
does.
which is awesome. But you get the essence of the character. It translates so well into the Spider-Man story, and you also get to see that very redeeming, very human aspect of Frank Castle that not a lot of people kind of understand that. That's part of his character. He's at the end of the day, he's also very human. He was a soldier. He commends bravery and courage and grit. I mean, he looks up to Captain America in the comics. He looks up to Spider-Man. Like it's I thought that was a great scene. That was beautiful. And
Yeah, especially him carrying Spider-Man in. You could feel
oh,
the emotion. You could feel the
recreating
anguish.
another iconic scene.
Oh
It was
my
so
gosh.
well.
Yeah, that like hurt my heart. And you could just feel the regret. And I think one of the ways that they accomplish not running into a lot of the violence that usually comes with the Punisher is they kept putting him in situations where he couldn't really commit the violence. Either
Yeah.
Spider-Man was actively stopping him or he's fighting the Hulk. And what is what is he
What is he
what is he
gonna do
gonna do
against the
against
Hulk?
yeah, it was so good. How did you take the Hulk in this? I mean, this is another there's quite a few cameos, right? You have Black Widow, Florence Pugh. That still feels weird to me that Florence Pugh is Black Widow, but yeah, Florence Pugh's Black Widow. You have Bruce Banner, you have the Hulk, right? Like, how did they fit into the story to you? Did it feel shoehorned in? I felt that Bruce Banner worked. To me, it fit the place of Doc Ock quite well, of that professorial role that he could go and talk about, somebody who knows it well, somebody that has like a lot of horrible background with the whole mutant situation and superpower situation and doesn't necessarily see it in a good light, but also is aware of the drawbacks of reining that in. He gets both sides. And that's something that Peter in this movie especially needs. Florence Pugh, on the other hand, I mean, I get why she was here, but also it felt a little bit more like they were just trying to remind us that the new Avengers exist a little bit. But I'm welcome to hear your opinion on this if you have a different one.
No. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the one that felt shoehorned was Yelena or Florence Pugh's character. It definitely felt shoehorned. It didn't bring too much to the table. The Hulk I thought was done great. I'm glad we finally get to see him Hulk out again. We haven't seen that in 10 years, which is crazy to me. Especially because when you consider how many times Bruce Banner shows up in the movies, he shows up a lot, but we haven't seen him Hulk out in so long.
He was so scary.
His character has been so inconsistent. It's a whole thing. He was done really well here, and I wasn't thinking of Doc Ock. I was thinking of the Lizard. I was thinking he took the role of the
Yeah, the
Lizard
lizard. That's good.
really
That's smart.
well because I think the Lizard would have fit perfectly in this movie had they not used him in No Way Home, which is one of my biggest gripes of No Way Home, that they used so many characters that I don't see how you can use them in the future. But anyway, that's a whole other tangent. I thought the Hulk was done well. The Punisher was done amazing. Jean Grey was done great. I was very satisfied with all the cameos except for Yelena. I mean, she made for some funny scenes.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome. I like that, but it didn't like necessarily contribute to the story. Everybody else did, especially like you said when Bruce talks about the mutation and repressing his, like the bad aspects of the Hulk, and how do you decide what's good or bad in nature? Maybe it's the body trying to tell you something, which is the whole theme of the movie, which great theme. And yeah, a little bit on the nose there, but I think I don't know. I was very happy with that. I was very nervous about the Hulk, and I thought I
Yeah.
was pleasantly
We've
surprised.
seen the Hulk so much, or Hulk adjacent individuals. And but I will say it does hit different when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk. It hit different. They showed it so well, and it felt intimidating. Seeing him from like, what is it called, Professor Hulk or whatever, the
Yeah.
the Tame Did Hulk going into the big one. I was like, oh. No. And
No.
but it's still good to see that like even Hulk, who has had some very uneven character development because so many directors and writers are handling him and they kind of just make him fit whatever mold they need him to.
I will
Even
say
with that being said, I thought this one was probably one of the best. And you even still see the a little bit of the character development with the Hulk reining it in after seeing Peter Parker and hearing I'm your friend. Like the Hulk reining it in is still important to me. Like that was
we need to
amazing.
talk about that scene because that is one of the scenes where the comic bookish elements come out in a way that I think is amazing. I liked it. Like in the comics, Peter has done this spell before where like people forget who that he is Spider-Man. People forget about Peter Parker, etc. The Hulk, in comic book lore, he's very immune to magic. And so
That's
he he
awesome.
he remembers Peter, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it was just a little Easter egg, whatever. I liked it when
Funny.
Spider-Man
Is it
says,
because he's too
"Hey,"
stupid? Is
he says, "I'm Peter." And you see the eyes through the mask, which
yeah.
amazing design choice. But it's Spider-Man saying, "I'm Peter, I'm your friend," and Hulk like reacting to that. I don't know. I thought that was crazy. I was happy with that.
That's so funny. Is it just because he's like too dumb to
I
experience
I
magic, or like
I could not tell you. I could not tell you why,
that's such a
but
funny? I love that.
it's a little thing that they do, which I guess it's not necessarily canon in the MCU because there's the
Is
whole scene
now.
with the astral projection in Endgame,
Yeah.
so he is a bit immune to that. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, the fight sequences with the Hulk were done amazingly. Oh,
In
there's
general, the fight
there's
sequences,
yeah, in general, amazing. I
like
was a big
the fight sequence with the hand. Whoa, it was all
that was
good.
amazing. That was so good.
So good.
I thought as far as like the climaxes go, like like the end of story arc, I thought that was done well.
Yeah.
Like, are you Peter Parker or you're Spider-Man? It's like I'm both. Yeah,
That line,
yeah,
the line
you are
delivery,
like
the
you are
moment of the
both.
line, so good. I will say I'm like not left puzzled, but I do wonder. I mean, he had problems controlling obviously his like I guess sicko mode. I don't know what it's called. When his eyes go black and he's like, whoa, he becomes the beast, the spider, the man spider. No, it's a different thing. Anyways,
No, they weren't brave enough to do
yeah,
that.
they weren't brave enough. They weren't brave enough. But whenever he enters that mode, he wasn't able to really control himself before, and he'd get overly brutal. It seemed like they were suggesting like all of a sudden he can control it now because he's in a good mental state. That's why he like stops him from getting stabbed by the piper, whatever the fence thing. Is that just it? Like that's all of a sudden now he's just more powerful and he can control it. And sometimes he enters sicko mode. I did want a little bit of clarification on it because he just has all these like sick buffs.
I
Does he
think
always have these sick buffs, or is it just
I
when
I
he's
I
in need of?
I think he does. I think he's just like he emerges stronger than he was before. I don't think the black eyes made him powerful. I think he already was powerful. I think the black eyes is more like I'm in danger. I'm gonna black out and just do what needs to be done. But I think
Yeah.
he's able to kind of get rid of that feeling because
Okay.
But that's my take on it. Which that whole aspect of the story, I thought it was great. It was such a fascinating like angle. It's the inverse of
Very
Spider.
anime.
It's the inverse of Spider-Man 2, But I was never a big fan of that part of the story in Spider-Man 2. Even though I love Spider-Man 2, I think it's one of the best ones. But this inversion of it, I am focusing too much on Spider-Man. I am focusing too much on what I consider my responsibility, and it's starting to take a toll on me. I thought that was a great
Mhm.
angle to explore,
Wow.
especially when you tie it in with the Hulk, when you tie it in with the Punisher, who is a vigilante, who is fully focused on being a vigilante. When you tie it in with Jean Grey and the whole X-Men element of it all converged in a really satisfying manner. Like it all related to each other. That's why the one cameo with Yelena doesn't feel like it contributes to anything because everything else fits the narrative and the thematic aspect of it all so well.
Yeah, I think that at its core, Spider-Man Brand New Day is Spider-Man discovers work-life balance. But that's like what Spider-Man's supposed to be. Which that's what a lot of superheroes are supposed to be about. But Spider-Man in particular is about balancing the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man. And I thought this really did it well because you're right. We have seen, I think, a lot of Spider-Man having a lot of, personal responsibilities to take care of. But he had none. He had no personal responsibilities.
No life
And
outside
seeing,
of Spider-Man.
yeah, and seeing the dangers of that isolation, and discovering that friends are necessary and building Legos is cool, which I thought was awesome. That was some of my favorite. I think that was one of my favorite scenes when he just gets to go hang out and build Legos with Ned. It warmed my soul, and it it was nostalgic. I understand the films are older now, so for us who watched probably all of these movies opening night or opening weekend, to go and see that felt nostalgic. It felt warm and cozy. I do wonder how audiences 5, 10 years down the line will see it whenever, they're only
You're watching
six
them back to
or
back. Yeah.
yeah, 6 years apart and 6 hours apart because they're like watching all of the movies and they're like, yeah, he was just doing this a few hours ago. It's not a big deal. But it felt
Yeah.
special, I think, to actually have that distance. So yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
The
No,
film was good.
you truly did feel the 5-year gap. And
Yeah.
I'm glad they waited this long. And I'm glad they did, skip over those 5 years. You do feel the weight of it all.
Man, his hair.
I guess his
Love
hair's
his hair.
awesome. His hair's
Yeah,
awesome.
he had such old man, mature hair.
I love how confident he just feels now. Like he knows what he's doing. He's no longer. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not talking to Frank as Mr. Castle. Like, oh, Mr. Castle, don't shoot people. No, he's on the same level as Frank. they bicker, they banter. It's awesome. He
Yeah,
does
that's a good
call
point.
Dr. Banner, but then when they're fighting, Bruce, don't do this. Like stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's subtle differences. Also, kind of like small changes. Like the way he's on the phone with the wolf, the police officer. He just sounds so in the zone. He sounds so confident. He feels like he really has matured into
That's
the
a good
Spider-Man
point.
that we know and love. And it just
Wow.
makes me so happy to see him.
Yeah, no, that's really, really excellent because I mean, he starts. Maybe we're not giving the original trilogy enough credit because to see the progression from the beginning to here, this is usually where Spider-Man starts, roughly, right?
Exactly.
Give or
Yeah.
take. Give or take. But we haven't ever seen this progression from Spider-Man that is directly being advised by Iron Man. That is right under his wing. He has a direct mentor in the Avengers. He goes on these galactic adventures where he is, snapped away and stuff. But he is a kid. He's a child. And he is a trainee. And that is the core of it, is that he's a trainee, that he's not ready. That's like all of it. All of it is about how he's not ready, or the loss it takes to really be a superhero, of course, where he has to lose everything. And this one, you're completely right. Felt like the first time he felt comfortable in his own skin. He was his own man, and he was on the same level as Frank Castle and would bicker with him. And you're completely right. Yeah, that's an incredible analysis. I thought that 100% really stood out. Yeah, he felt like Spider-Man, I think, is the core of it. That's the best way to define it. This is a Spider-Man that finally felt like Spider.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the last thing I want to bring up is just the swinging. Any swinging scene was breathtaking. It felt so dynamic. It felt like I was there with him, toppling down buildings and being so energetic and so athletic, and it motivated
Or
me
not.
it made me want to go work out.
Oh, dude, no, the bathroom scene, the bathhouse scene where he's
like,
so jacked.
I
He
need
was
to
so
get
ripped.
there.
Oh my gosh, no! Whenever he walked down,
was-
my jaw dropped, and I went,
I
"Oh
was like,
my gosh, he's so ripped." It's like,
Mind
you know
you,
what it
mind
felt
you,
like?
he's ordering Little Caesars every night. Like they make a
Sure
point
he
to
is.
show.
Sure he is.
Whatever.
Whatever. No. The first time, so it reminded me of the first time I watched, Captain America, The Avengers, and not the Avenger, the first Avenger, whatever. You know the title. The
Yeah.
first Captain America film, and he takes the elixir, and it opens up, and
He's so buff.
and he's so buff and glistening. That's
Just
what it
oiled
felt
up.
like.
Yeah.
whenever whenever like Spider-Man came out with his mask and his underwear, and he went, "Oh my, I'm barely a man."
Wow.
I don't know. That's so epic. Oh my gosh. Like Spider-Man has always been a hero defined by what he loses, right? An uncle, an aunt, a mentor, friends, love. Again and again, Peter Parker kind of sacrifices pieces of his own life to protect everyone else. But at the end of No Way Home, he lost something even more fundamental, of course. Peter Parker disappeared. His friends forgot him. The world forgot him.
Which brings me to my final point,
Yeah.
which I told you we were going to talk about, the soundtrack. The
Yes.
score, the Sweet New Day, the actual theme for this movie is the same theme as Homecoming. It's just missing certain notes because he's missing Peter Parker, and then it slowly gains them back up in a different way. And I've been listening to that score for the last few days on
That's
repeat.
so smart.
And it's so beautiful. I didn't pick this up right away. I had to watch an interview with Michael Giacchino breaking it down. But it's such a simple move, but it just encompasses.
But it's intentional.
Yeah, exactly. It just fits. It's so good. It tells the story anyway. Yeah.
No, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Because, like, in this film, all that remained was Spider-Man. That's the point. So what happens when the mask is no longer something Peter wears, but it's the only identity he really has left? That's what this whole film is about. And can Peter Parker begin again when no one remembers who he used to be? Because Peter Parker may be gone for now, but not forever. Everybody? You have a good night. You see what I did there? I played that because that's a new thing. Goodbye for now, but not forever.